Hello, so today I want to welcome Bex Manning, who is the Chief Executive of Happy to Be. Hello, welcome to London.
Hello, thanks for having me.
That's okay, it's a pleasure. Hope you don't mind the city noises in the background.
Absolutely fine.
So, can you tell me a bit about what Happy to Be is?
We're quite young, we're a tenacious company, we're a startup, and we're a social enterprise, which means we put most of our profits back into the community we serve. And that community is anyone who questions their gender identity, and off that a little bit about sexual identity as well.
So, for instance, the trans community and also people who may, for instance, dress in a different gender as well.
Absolutely. I think when we look at the trans community, it's a label. And we know with a lot of the things that are going on at the moment, which we'll talk about later, all the stuff around transgender, you might be familiar with that term.
I've heard that, yes.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it than just that. Yeah. So anyone's welcome. There are even people that we work with who don't see gender, and this is a very fluid existence.
So they don't see themselves as either male or female?
No. Or it can be that they're male one day, female the next, nothing the next. Great, whatever.
So completely
it
flexible.
Works for me, exactly.
Excellent. Does that also include, I've heard the word kind of non-binary and gender fluid. What does that mean exactly?
Non-binary, yeah, that's another one. And comes from the fact that, binary is one thing or another, and that would be male, female. And you see that a lot, certainly in government documentation. If you have to ever had to fill in a application form, male, female, and you go, okay, so where do I put my little tick? But what we want to do, along with all those services to help, we also want to be fun. So we're going to have events that can come to and meet like-minded people. We're going to do podcasts. We're going to do our own magazine. We're going to have everything that you need, because while it's a part of you, it shouldn't dictate who you are. Enjoy.
And there's been quite a lot of information, partly because of Kathleen Jenner and some media attention. I know BBC did a TV programme. I think it's Boy Meets Girl. But since then, there's also been a bit of a backlash against the trans community, particularly from people like Germaine Greer and some of the feminist community, who feel that actually the trans community don't actually count as female, and that it's kind of misogynistic, and that they're taking away from women's power and women-only space. How do you feel about this?
Look, we're all just trying to be who we want to be, and that's how we feel. We want to empower people to embrace the uniqueness that they have. And there will always be people that criticise you, and we know that certainly if you feel like changing gender, if that's what you feel is right for you, so from male to female, female to male, but one of the reasons that you may not do that is because you're worried about how others will see you, how others will react, from hate crime, which we've seen, transphobia, to people like Germaine Greer, to the feminists who have a unique view of how transgenderism works. And they're entitled to their opinion, but we know that's not right for everybody. And what we do at Happy to Be, what we're trying to do is empower people who do question their gender to be able to go on that journey. And that's what we're looking to educate and inspire, and to produce a safe place for everyone just to hang out and just go through it. Because life's tough enough, right? Without all this going on. So, there are a few videos on YouTube, or there are articles out there about how feminism actually can be quite transphobic. And there will always be a sector from whatever organisation you're in that perhaps takes things a little too far. It can be difficult. When you question your gender identity, you're going against the very grain of what you're told from when you are first born. I mean, we know that when mums are pregnant, it's what am I having? What am I having? And it's not acceptable just to say a baby. They tend to want to know what's coming out, so which clothes to buy. And we start really looking at gender from the minute we are born.
Absolutely. She was very prominent in the 60s and 70s. And I think a lot of the concept of male privilege perhaps is slightly dated when it comes to trans Right.
It is. I mean, if you look at it, you're absolutely right. When you change gender, you don't just change to, if, for example, from male to female, that you'd perhaps go down in the social states, as it were. But as a trans person, you're more likely to die through suicide, through poor interactions with healthcare professionals because they don't understand. And there's also a lot of fear about going to see professionals. Suicide's quite big in the community.
It's a very high statistic, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of prejudice and stigma still around.
And what can Happy to Be do for someone from the trans or non-binary community?
Well, we're quite new, so we're getting things together.
Right.
I've got a very clear vision of what I'm looking for. Our own social network.
Okay.
For the community, if you're looking for those services like electrolysis or speech therapy or a counsellor, we're going to try and bring those together in a sort of concierge coordinator type way. We're also looking so that you can build on that, maybe coaching, and also the flip side is to educate professionals. So you're going to come across somebody at some point, whether it be a GP, a nurse, and social worker, and what we want to do is make sure they understand the unique challenges that you face and how to deal with them. That's really important.
Brilliant. That sounds quite fun.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Becks.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.